From Super League to Olympic distance to age group world records to Kona. Go longer with the right fuel at the right time with SFuels.
With Bob.
Poncho Man, everybody! Welcome to our 11th year of Breakfast with Bob from beautiful Huggles on the Rocks. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Master Spas, SFuels. Go longer, HOKA, Let's Fly, Forum Smart Swim Goggles, Quintanaroo, Zoot, Original Triathlon brand, and of course our Challenge Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, please give it up for the great Lionel Sanders.
This is amazing, Bob.
How fun is this?
Isn't this wonderful?
It is the best. How cool is it to be back on the island?
I watched the Sebi interview, and I got teary-eyed at the end.
Yeah, you've had so many great races with that guy.
Yeah, it's just wonderful to be back here and with all of you guys in this beautiful place. Tomorrow we got a race. Saturday we got a race.
But there was a point there after Dallas that you were thinking, I'm not going.
Oh, that would have been a huge, huge mistake and a huge regret. So don't ever think or make decisions 24, 48, maybe even 72 hours after a race. So I'm totally glad I'm here. We had a great camp. And now I'm probably more excited than ever to do this race.
So when I look at, the Edmonton race, not a good race, but you're playing around with heat training, playing around with altitude training. What did you learn from that particular race?
Well, I mean, we're trying to go up against some pretty crazy dudes, like very, very advanced, I think, from a scientific standpoint.
Yeah.
And so you have to at least investigate if there's something there. And so I wanted to investigate altitude training. I'd never gone to altitude. And I'm not going to rule it out in the future. I definitely think I made a lot of mistakes. Like I went to Flagstaff. It was 7,000 feet. It was also like 90 degrees a lot of the days. And I was training, of course, because I can't wake up early. And so I'm training at 90 degrees and 7,000 feet. And now hindsight's 20/20, but your thresholds drop both with altitude and with heat. And so I just couldn't accept that my thresholds had all dropped so significantly. And I wasn't trusting the quote-unquote Norwegian method. I wasn't, I would see the lactate data and then I would just keep running faster. And so I think I just didn't absorb any of the training. I went to altitude for a month block and didn't absorb any of the training, and then went to Edmonton, which is a really fast race, and it was a combination of having really done any high-end speed and hadn't absorbed training very well for a month. And I just feel like I didn't perform super well. Now, mind you, you're going up against some really good guys.
The fastest people on the planet. At a distance
that's very weighted to the swim. And so, maybe it wasn't that bad of a performance, but when you go to a race and you think that you're going to contend at the front and then you don't, it's always something to learn and reflect on.
So when we went to Ironman World Championship in St. George, and obviously everybody's figuring when you come out of the water, if Cam Wurf is around, if Sebastian Kienle's around, if Sam Long's around, that Lionel and that train will go through the pack and then battle it out during the run. And those guys went off, and Lionel's sitting back. You still had a great bike ride, but that was a tactic where you didn't want to get caught up with what those guys were doing.
I've just been scarred so deeply from doing Ironmans, particularly on this island.
Yes.
And so I wanted to go to a world championship and actually prove to myself that I could still be competitive in a world championship, in a high-profile race amongst the new crop of guys. And I just had to do it for myself. I basically said, you come out of the water, if you're with Wurf and all of those guys, you look down at the power meter. If it's 320 is your upper limit. If the meter reads over 320, then you let them go and you do an individual time trial for the rest of the day. And that's basically what I did. It was like 330 I saw, and it was accelerating from there. And I let them go, and I held 282 watts, pretty well dead steady for the rest of the ride. And actually what was funny is I ended up catching all of those guys on the bike who all rode away from me and put 2 minutes into me. So they were all blowing up. So, and then on the run, same thing. I came off right where I needed to come off. I was side by side with Christian, And unfortunately, he was just significantly fitter than I was, and just ran away. But I still had the second fastest run, and I was able to run down a lot of guys once again who I, biked relatively even with. And I don't think that would have been possible having not raced the way I raced. I still had energy at the end, and I was able to close, I think, a minute in the final 2 miles on Braden Curry. So I think I dished out my energy best. Christian's just on a different level.
Right. And when you catch Braden Curry towards the end of that race, and you took the time in transition, put running shorts on. Back in the day, people thought uber cyclist. You've become obviously a more complete triathlete. How important is that to you to be able to know that you can win multiple ways or be competitive multiple ways?
The media is fascinating in that. Actually, when I started, I was known as an Uber runner because I ran in 2014.
That's right. You were high school, college.
I ran. I think that's season, my second pro season, I ran 4 109s off the bike, and that was in an era where people weren't running 109s off the bike. But then because my swim was so poor, I knew that I had to also push the bike. And so, of course, if you push the bike, then it's going to have a bit of an effect on your run. And so, yeah, I don't know. I sort of got that image of being a good biker because my run suffered a little bit, but also guys just continue to get better and better on the run. And so I consider myself to just be, well aware of the relationship between biking and running. And so you give a little on the bike, you get a little on the run. And I think I have some of the most experience with that relationship and those calculations just because I've been such a poor swimmer, and I've had no choice but to figure out the ratios of how hard I can bike and still run decently well off of.
You were chatting the other night that this race, you can't race like you raced in St. George. You have to be at that tippy end of the bike.
I don't know if that's actually true now that I'm thinking about it. It's almost like the race plan in St. George is probably the right race plan for this race as well, more than any. If guys were blowing up in St. George by giving back minutes in the final miles, times that by 10 when you're walking, because there you can still function. Here you walk. And the right race plan may still be the exact same race plan. So in my mind, I think my race strategy will be like 10% more racing, but still like 90% individual time trial this time around. Because I have been so deeply scarred by this race, and even in 2017 where I raced quite well, I still remember running up Palani and being in severe pain and wondering how the heck am I going to finish these final 16 miles. And the only reason I was able to push myself is because I was in the lead. But it's been the same story every time I've raced this race. It's been like run up Palani and be in a whole world of horrible pain and pretty well walk or semi-survive for a solid 10 miles. And that's just not fun. It's not racing.
No.
You're not getting the most out of yourself. So I would love to come up, well, certainly Palani, but I would love to come up from the energy lab for once and be still functioning and still racing and competing. And I think if you can make it to that point and you're still competing, then that's probably the best you could have done anyway. You can suffer for probably 30 or 40 minutes at an extreme level. You can't suffer for 2 hours at an extreme level. It's just not possible. Your body has like protective mechanisms and stuff that just prevents you from doing that, and then you just walk. So
the key is you want to, and it's past history here, is you come out of the energy lab with 10K to go, and that's when the racing starts.
I think you have to have confidence. After 5 starts on this race, I would say you have to have the confidence to be able to just do it by yourself. You have to have that mental and physical confidence, because that may very well be the correct way to race this race. It's just to do your own thing. And I believe Jan did that in 2019 for the course record. I mean, he's a front pack swimmer easily. He was in probably control on the bike, and then everyone was fading and blowing up, and he just rode away from them, similar to what I did in St. George. It's not that you were surging or anything. It's just everyone's blowing up, and then had his own run. And it's almost like that's kind of what he did, was an ITT for 7 hours and 51 minutes. And that may very well be the best race plan you can have in this course.
You've trained with a lot of people over the years. Talk a little about Colin Chartier and the impact he's had on your training, and he's talked to us about the impact you've had on him.
He's a really good dude and extremely talented, and is a huge factor on Saturday, undoubtedly. And it's just been really cool to have a guy, his set of strengths and weaknesses complement mine. He's a front pack swimmer, and so to swim next to him and he laps me, and I'm able to analyze what he looks like when he's going by me, and vice versa. He's constantly seeing me under the water and giving me feedback is really cool. And just to understand the mind of a true front pack swimmer and how they think about it. Like when he swims easy, it's ridiculous how easy he swims, but it's because he's confident in himself. He's confident in his ability. And I'm the same on the bike and the run. Like I won't hesitate to bike really easy on an easy day. But in swimming, as a weak swimmer, we tend to have like so much insecurity that we don't actually swim easy. In fact, I remember a time, maybe it was 2017 or 18, coming here, and Jan was at the pool, and I was 2 lanes over, and he was swimming easy, and I supposedly was swimming easy, and I was swimming the same speed as him. The guy swims like 7 minutes faster than me in this race. How is it possible that your easy pace is the same as his easy pace? You know what I mean? The difference is he's actually swimming easy, and you're swimming like in no man's land, probably too hard on your easy day. So swimming with Colin has showed me that, at least, every day. And then all of a sudden he's able to just start swimming 10500s. Like, it's incredible. And so just to understand the mind of a swimmer on a daily basis has been, revolutionary for my thinking. And then he's also a very good cyclist, and he's improving like every time we ride, basically. Like at first I was able to drop him, and now I can't drop him anymore, and it's starting to make me a little mad. But, and then on the run, he's dropping me. And so it's a really great combination for sure. And we're on the same page as well in that I think part of what makes the two Norwegian guys so successful is that they're like their own like personal, they motivate each other really well. So if one of them is doing something stupid, they don't hesitate to tell the guy, hey, you're doing something stupid and it's affecting your chances of being world champion. And so Colin and I sort of have concluded that, and so I give him feedback openly, even if he doesn't want it, and he gives me feedback openly even if I don't want it. And I believe that's part of the recipe for success to be a world champion.
It's funny because you need, steel sharpens steel. You need another person to push you on the days where you don't want to be pushed.
It depends on your personality,
okay.
Right? I prefer to be on the ropes. I prefer to have guys lapping me in the water. There probably was a time, that's maybe where I'm at in my career now, but there probably was a time where that would have been really demotivating. But now it's good for me to see, like, that's Christian Blumenfeld who's swimming next to you every day. That's what you're going up against in this race. He's on par with Gustav and Christian run ability, certainly in the heat. And so to see that every day and not be able to deny it, and to have a guy running away from you, we were training in Tucson, it's 100 degrees. And he's putting time into me pretty hardcore. And it's like, but that's what you're going up against. So if you truly want to be world champion one day, then you need to figure out a way to be running side by side with that guy. And so, I think where I'm at now, I can't hide anymore. I need to be in the thick of it. I need to understand the level of fitness I need to get at. And I still have a ways to go, certainly in the heat. But having him around, I believe I can get there, and I believe he can get there within a couple of years.
Ironman World Championship, you've been second twice. What would it mean for you to win this race? Or does that even matter? Is it really all about, for you, the process and just feeling you had the best race you could have?
It's definitely about the process now.
Yeah,
I may never win this race, and that's okay. I'm totally fine with that. It's all good. For me, I would love to do, first off, I think this Saturday, the goal needs to be to race it, to finally race this thing start to finish. I finished it 5 times. I know I can finish it. I survived all 5 for probably the final 2 hours, really. I was blowing up. I remember in 2019, my vision was blurry coming off the bike. Do you know how far a marathon is when your vision is blurry already? Like, I was probably already down. Like, for real, I was probably already down 10 pounds coming off the bike. Like, you're not racing. Like, that,
that's dangerous too, by the way.
It's dangerous, yeah, and I am also cognizant of that's not what I am trying to achieve. Like, I'm not trying to kill myself out there, right? Like if that's what it takes to win, I probably could go there. But what you're doing when you're doing that to yourself is just destroying yourself. That's not racing.
No.
That shows actually ignorance and incompetence, not competence. Like, come off the bike and be functioning and run the marathon. And so that first I've got to do that. Stop thinking about winning a world title. Like, you haven't even raced the thing. Like, for real, race it to the finish, and then we can build on that. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at in my thinking. I did it in St. George. I raced it right to the finish.
Yes, you did.
And I closed the final couple miles, and I was able to pull back tons of time. And I think I showed that I understand how to race an Ironman now in fairly temperate conditions. It did get to 90 that day, but it's like, I know that 90. This 90 is a lot different than that 90. And so, yeah, that's all I want to do. That's where I'm at. Just race one. And then from that, collect the data, and from that, then we can progress.
It seems like, well, you're going to be a dad soon. You're happy with your training situation for a number of years. Sebi was sort of the unofficial coach.
Sebi still is the unofficial coach, for sure.
And you're coaching yourself. And now with Mikhail, you seem to be in such a great position there. Great training partner, going to be a dad. This is a good time for you in your life.
I mean, my life has been good for many years.
Yes.
When I discovered Ironman, by about year 3, I would say my life was good. So this has all been icing on the cake. But yeah, my life is phenomenal. I mean, look where we are right now.
Exactly.
Like,
this is my office, by the way.
This is amazing. Like, it's truly, we are so privileged, all of us here, to be in this point in time. So yeah, it's wonderful.
Lion, I always appreciate you taking so much time, and thank you for being just so gracious.
Thank you, Bob. You're the man.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the great Lionel Sanders.
No, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can meet me at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. 'Cause it's breakfast with Bob. 'Cause it's breakfast with Bob.
And Pacho Man and Mr. Lionel Sanders, everybody.